So welcome to the second Say Now Personal Stories by Those Making Change in Our Community Storytelling Night. Tonight's theme is We Won't Go Back, and we're going to hear stories, very short stories, 5 minutes or less, from a dozen people who have been involved in either one of the women's marches or one of the rallies organized against the executive orders targeting Muslims, refugees, and immigrants in our community. We basically been nonstop organizing for the last 3 weeks. And actually, we're going to start with a story about organizing around a hate crime that happened in Portland recently, and the support that will be being offered to the superintendent of schools in the Portland School District. Before we get to our storytelling, I want to say a couple of things, particularly thanks, but also if you notice on your seat you have an assessment form. If you would, before you leave, fill one out, that would be great. It helps us justify to those that we need to justify such things to, that there's an audience for this kind of an event, and that it's important to you. So please fill that out before you go, and somebody will be able to collect them. Also, there's tables around the perimeter of the room, food and coffee over here. ILAP has a table. The main women's lobby has a table. Women and gender studies has a table. So, explore those after we're done here. There's postcards to write to your legislators or to the White House. There's literature about the Women and Gender Studies program, literature about legal assistance and advocacy for our immigrant community. There's all kinds of good stuff to pick up before you can go. I also want to thank a few people, in particular the two people who made this event possible are Kathy Barbaritz and Gabe Demain, who put in endless hours. I actually want to thank Steve Gregory. I also want to thank Steve Gregory and Kaden Flynn, who helped with the production side of tonight. As you've noticed, perhaps, there's coffee donated by Bard Coffee and Starbucks on the table. We thank them, particularly Brittany Feltvick and Margot Donnell. And for technical assistance tonight, we had help from WMPG Radio and particularly Jessica Lockhart, Professor Jessica Ouellette, who helped us put together the slideshow for tonight, and Kyle Duncan, who is filming and doing sound for us tonight. So thank you. And finally, just a couple of announcements about upcoming events, opportunities to get involved. Tomorrow at 10:30 in the morning, there'll be a protest against the Dakota Access Pipeline. So at 10:30 in front of the Nickelodeon movie theater in downtown, walking across the street to TD Bank. As you may know, TD Bank is helping to finance it. So 10:30 tomorrow, and then at noon tomorrow on the steps of City Hall, there'll be a Planned Parenthood rally with a volunteer training happening, I think, at 1:30 at the Union Church. And then a little further down the road in a couple of weeks on March 1st, the Gender Studies Student Organization at USM is screening the film Trapped. It's a benefit with all proceeds going to Safe Abortions for Everyone Maine. And I think, are there flyers for this back?
There's a couple, yeah.
Yeah, so that information is at the table back there. And when we're done tonight, if anybody wants to stick around and have a conversation about next steps, please feel free to do so. We'll have the room, I think, until 9 o'clock. And we may have some informal conversation about all of your experiences being at the rallies and demonstrations that have been happening over the last few weeks. But first we have 5-minute stories by 12 prominent community activists. The first one will be a Casco Bay High School student named Mohammed Omar, who was the organizer of today's rally. A rally that just happened a couple of hours ago on the steps of City Hall. again, in support of Superintendent Rotana. And maybe he'll talk a little bit about why that rally needed to take place. And then he has to leave, so we're going to start. Okay, Mohammed.
My name is Mohammed Omar, and I'm a junior at Cascade High School. So I'm gonna get to so there's been the Women's March, the rally against Muslim and immigration ban, the rally at the airport, the rally on standing with solidarity with our superintendent. As a Black Muslim teen in this country, in the state of Maine, it's very hard to express how you feel. It's really hard to express your emotions and just how you're feeling about the whole election and everything that's happening in this country currently. But today I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about how I actually felt. It may come off a little bit aggressive, a little bit harsh, but bear with me. So as you all know and are aware that our President Trump was elected, it really angered me to see all these people come out for the Women's March. 10,000 people come out in the state of Maine and march down Congress Street. Seeing all those people was a very amusing and heartbreaking time for me. It was sad because I personally do not know that there was that much people in Maine. I didn't know. The reason why I was angry was because there are all these protests and rallies that happened way before Trump was elected. Many of them having to do with the Black Lives Matter movement. And I never saw this much people come out. It was sad because, like I just said, I've never seen this amount of people come out to show support for human rights. And when there are Black Lives Matter protests, people are fighting for their human rights. They're protesting for their rights. And at the Women's March, people were fighting and protesting for what? Their human rights. So it's when people are protesting for Black Lives Matter, not the same thing for when you're protesting for Women's March? I've been asking myself that question a lot. The rally against the Muslim and immigration ban was a good rally in my eyes. It was really nice to see people come out to support immigrants in the country. My mother is an immigrant. She immigrated here from Somalia. And as a Muslim person, I personally did not know that there was that much support. I didn't know as a student that I had that much support from my people, from my community, from the people I lived in the same state as. If you may or may not know, I spoke that day. It was hard because I didn't want to say anything that was too harsh or too aggressive, but I felt like I said everything I needed to say. The rally at the airport, I didn't really know much about. I think I was sick that day. I didn't attend that one. And there was also the rally today, which happened, standing in solidarity with our superintendent. So, if you may know, or if you don't know, there was a hate crime at Cascade High School. 4 Black students were assaulted by a white man. They were called racial slurs. A girl was tackled, and the guy pulled a knife out on students. The night I heard about that, I watched the film called The 13th. It's a film called focused on mass incarcerations in the United States. And if you guys haven't watched that, you should probably watch it. It's a very tough film. You feel some type of ways, angry afterwards, especially as a Black person. And when I heard about that, when I watched the film, and then I heard about that, I was like, oh my Lord, like, how is this happening right now? Like, we're in 2017. And I went to school the next day, and I saw that our principal was doing a really good job on trying to handle the issue. And believe it or not, we had left school early and had a rally, and we marched to our bus stop, and students were leading chants, and it was a really nice time. And then throughout high school did the same thing, during high school did the same thing, and that also showed me how connected and welcoming the community was. And then I heard about the superintendent being hated and by the GOP Republican Party or whatever, and that was very hard for me because one, he said what he had to say, he did what he had to do, and in my eyes, none of that was wrong. I don't know how that could be wrong or seen as wrong in somebody else's eyes. So I helped Farheel Hassan and a boy named Tarek, they both go to my school, organize this rally to show support for our superintendent. He's a person in my life that I could look up to as a role model. He's an immigrant, just like my mother, he immigrated to the country. He's the only person up there that that has power as an immigrant, including Pius Ali and many other people. And I feel like I can talk to him and vent and just he'll understand if I talk to him, compared to many other people in my community. I feel like it's time for people to get stuff done. It's time for stuff to happen. All these rallies were really great. I personally loved attending all these rallies, but I feel like this should have been happening a long time ago. In my eyes, history is repeating itself. So basically, I just want to say continue the work. I have to leave.
How many people are around today?
About 50 people. So,
Wow. And it was brutally cold. It was 11 degrees. Our second speaker is Michelle Jacobus, who is on the faculty at the University of Southern Maine. She's a professor in the Social and Behavioral Sciences Department at the Lewis and Auburn campus.
Hi, I'm Michelle Basket. Thank you. And I'm reiterating the basket because it's from my mom and she's sitting there. So I want to everything that in there. And
You have to talk right into the mic.
I'm
On the
short.
back or something.
Are we there?
Yeah.
You there? Can you hear me now? Okay. So I have to begin with a confession. I am so nervous you're going to hear my heart palpitating through the microphone. I talk in front of people all the time, but I'm crazy nervous, which was why Wendy was good enough to let me go toward the beginning. And Mohammed, I think you may have left, but his point, really well taken. And part of the reason I'm nervous is I was trying to figure out how in 5 minutes I can tell a story that's personal but not indulgent, and that speaks to the question of why any of this matters, because that's what's been eating at me. A few weeks ago in a social policy class that I teach, one of my students asked the question that I know many of us wonder about all the time. So why are we going to these protests? Why weren't we protesting weeks ago, years ago, if we weren't? And does any of it matter? Does it really have any impact? Or are we really only looking at it in the most cynical way that it matters if it influences elected representatives because they care about our votes? So then it doesn't really matter. Not right now. It matters in about a year and a half maybe, but not so much right now. And I can't live with that. I have been protesting for a long time. It's not new to me. I am a social worker and a lawyer. We are trained to organize. We are trained in opposition. It's part of our practice, our day-to-day work. I'm also a Puerto Rican and I'm Jewish. So I would say that resistance, opposition is in my blood. Right, Mom?
Right on.
Right, so? It's in our blood. And yet, the last few months have felt very different from the protests in the 80s and the 90s. I'm sorry, I'm cheating. I got notes because that helps me a little bit. And I think many of us, even if it is indulgent, have to be among each other. We need the camaraderie. We need the sense of purpose, the sense of hope, especially right now, because the most dangerous thing for a lot of us, or maybe I should just speak for myself, is this overwhelming fear and deep depression. So the day after the election, which I didn't think was going to happen, I was skipping around in the Kubler-Ross stages and never hit anger enough to be effective, but went right on that Wednesday. My daughter and I took our own personal snow day, stayed home from work. I'm a news junkie, big surprise, I'm sure. I couldn't watch the news, I couldn't listen to the radio. We sat on the futon couch and watched Jane the Virgin and ate her Halloween candy. That's how we spent the day. And I could have done that for quite some time, but finally at the end of the day, I opened my email. I'm not on Facebook or any of that social media stuff. And there was an email from my friend Cynthia, our friend Cynthia, who is a retired classics professor who lives in Brunswick. And Cynthia is politically active. She is very organized. She's into everything. She doesn't have to be anymore. And she knew I was depressed. And she said, get off your butt. There's stuff to do. And she sent an email about a protest that was being organized in Brunswick that weekend. So I got motivated for a little while. Sent emails to everybody I know, made phone calls, said, hey, we're starting now. There's a protest in Brunswick. Coming up, big ring, bad liability. There's a protest in Brunswick coming up this weekend. Let's go. So we went, and it was like organizing for a party. Suddenly there was hope, there was fun. And we went over to Cynthia's house, Mom came with us, and we made posters. Hadn't done that in a while. So my mom made this beautiful poster with these fancy letters, nasty women stand up, real pretty writing, very clear. I wrote a poster that's about a paragraph long, quoting from the Hamilton cast about diversity and all this, and people look at it like, what? I'm not sure, what's that say? I don't get it, what's going on? And we went over to Brunswick and there were like 9 people there, nobody under 50. And we're all holding up our signs and it's starting to rain, it's starting to get really cold, and we're holding up these signs, and the one person that came by that maybe had some interest and might have been provoked by the whole idea to some questioning, my 16-year-old daughter Luca on her way to work. And she sees this sign, I'm holding the Nasty Women Stand Up sign, and she's like, Mom, what is that? Why are you holding that? And then she is off and over to work as fast as she can, pretending like she has nothing to do with that. And I'm thinking maybe protest is not happening. We were the worst joke that everybody is making that day. We were a bunch of old hippies hanging out with our signs, making absolutely no difference, except for feeling good ourselves. And I was wondering if it is just too late, and maybe we are so much in the minority in terms of power and numbers that there's just no point. And so I went back into that little denial phase for a little while. And then I started hearing about the protests that were coming up, and I got to get to the point. And I got invitations to the Augusta rally, and I wasn't going to do that. But then my daughters wanted to go. Luca wanted to go. Sophie wanted to go. Mom was going. Cynthia's going. Husband's going. Robert, he's got a name. He's over there too. And we got everything together, and we organized to go. And we're in Augusta, and we're about to get out of the car. And my daughter says to me, Mom, what about the posters? And I said, well, I don't want to carry those things. It's crowded. We've got to walk far. She says, I'll carry this one. She wants the Nasty Woman one. So she and her teenage friend, Sophie, go off with the Nasty Woman sign. And as soon as we get there, pretty much soon after the chanting starts, the people united cannot be defeated. And I was real frustrated with this because it doesn't rhyme. It's a translation of the Spanish. And the Spanish is, La gente unida no será vencida. That rhymes. And if you're going to chant something loud, make it rhyme with The translation we use is the people united cannot be divided. It's a loose translation, but it works. So my voice can carry, and I start screaming that while everybody else is screaming defeated. This goes over well with the teenagers, and they start leaving. And a little while later, we can't get very far, and I hear them explaining to a woman who's saying, why do you have a poster that says nasty women? I'm not nasty. And my daughter goes on to explain to this woman about owning back the term nasty women, and she's talking about the debate and all that. And that gave me some feeling about why it matters. It matters to me because it matters to my girls, because it matters to my mom, because it matters to my family. It matters because it matters to our community, and every one of us who is here has their family, their community, their neighbors, their students to whom it matters a great deal. I don't know if on a macro level we will make a difference, but certainly all those individuals of us, la gente unida, no serán vencidos.
Our next storyteller is Bella Rieger, who is a USM student and a member of the Gender Studies Student Organization and a participant in the DC Women's March.
I'm short too. Hi, so I'm Bella. I am one of the younger activists here. I'm only 21 right now, turning 22 in April, and I'm here to kind of give the new activist story. I'm not going to try to talk for anybody else. I can only speak for my own experience. But I found that, in order to get political, I really have to get personal. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a personal story. So I was born and raised in Portland, Maine, and I went to school in the Portland school system. So I went to Reiki, I went to King, I went to Portland High School, and I'm a product of those schools, and I feel really proud of that. I mean, there's definitely still issues that we need to get better on, but I've always felt really, really proud and connected to my community here. So in the spring of 2016, I just had this really horrible spring. Really bad things happened, and over the summer, I really began to question myself for the first time in my life. I've always been pretty confident, but this was the first time where I sort of felt somewhat disempowered. And I became very internalized, my agoraphobic episodes came back, and I found it hard to leave my house. Luckily, I am lucky to have a really supportive family and community, so I was able to return to school in the fall, and I started taking Politics of Difference with Wendy. I started taking the Feminist Theory course with Lisa Walker over there, Women, Knowledge, and Power specifically, and I sort of got to this place where I feel like I found my voice again. I started to get better. So I started, building this self-worth again, and then the election happened. And at this time, I was living with my incredibly close friend who's here tonight, Chanel Caruso. There she is, who is a native of El Paso and Mexico. And we were kind of doing this work together. But when the election happened, it struck us very hard for a multitude of reasons, as it did with a lot of people. And there was definitely this moment for me where I was like, oh, I'm feeling sad again, I'm gonna get internal. But I had all of these new tools in my tool belt from these classes, and the next day, we stayed in bed, I think, for 8 hours or something, crying, as much as many of us did, and then kind of looked at each other and we were like, you know what, actually, we're gonna go out tonight, we're gonna go to this rally, and we're going to express our anger in this really productive way that we haven't done before. So a little later into the semester, I found out that we were organizing to go to Washington, and the election was complicated, and I was sort of initially oh, I'm definitely going, and then finals got a little bit worried and disorganized again, and then I was like, you know what? Give my seat to somebody who knows that they can commit to it. I'll be on the waiting list. If I get called, I'll go. If I don't get called, I'll just go to a local thing. So the day before the rally, I get called. Actually, I'm in Wendy's class, and Wendy gets called at the same time. And John is like, we have seats for you. Would you like to come? And I'm like, oh my God, I guess I'm doing this. Yes. So this is the night before, right? And I'm like, this is a huge step for me. I experienced a lot of complicated feelings about activism in the past because I didn't know if it was like this indulgent thing to be going out and being like, oh, well, my voice and my experience matters, because there's just so many other people that I thought, are experiencing so much more hardship in my community, and they really deserve the voice, and I feel like I'm taking it away when I'm there. But then I was like, you know what, but you putting your body on the line matters, and you need to do this, and in order to actually put your politics where your mouth is, you need to actually go out there and do something about it. So Washington was kind of my initial first national sort of protest. I've never done that. And it was totally this dream experience. I didn't really understand what was happening until we got there, and all of a sudden we're in the streets in DC, and there's a million people around, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing this. Me last year at this time definitely wouldn't have done this, but here I am. And my time at Washington I really appreciated, and I think it really did kind of light this spark in me, but at the same time I knew in my mind that being there was just the first step, and that I needed to improve and I needed to do more. So when I got back to Portland, I started getting a little bit more involved with local efforts, especially concerning the immigration ban. That felt very, very, very personal to me as a person who was in the Portland school system my entire life, and those are my people, these are people I've gone to school with my entire life. I love and care about them so much, and that their safety and the efficacy of their experience of being questioned is just so horrendous. I need to actually get out here and support people and do something. So I guess that the thesis of all of this is the way that I kind of found the courage to get literally outside of my house and to commit to this lifestyle of resistance was that it was just coming from this space of incredible love that I had for people in my community, and realizing that part of supporting them is showing up for them and putting my body on the line, and really showing them that I support them in that visceral sort of way, not just an intellectual way. Because if I'm just talking the talk and I'm not walking the walk, that doesn't really help anybody. So, speaking of somebody who has a hard time leaving their house, who questions their motives neurotically all the time, you can do it too. And I really encourage you to go do it, because the numbers are really only going to improve these efforts, and we really, really need to get out there right now. We should have been out there yesterday, but we need to get out there now. So, thank you. You've all been very generous.
Storyteller is Rodolphine Kadavesha from Empower Immigrant Women. She spoke at the Portland Women's March.
Thank you very much. As Wendy said, my name is Rodolphine Kadavesha. I am from the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I live in Portland since 3 years. So when I arrived in America, I am from the east of the Congo, and the place I was born and I was raised up is until now considered as a red capital of the world. I grew up in a very unjust, unfair area, and I can't say I was used to, but because it's very hard to be used to worse. So what I was used to is to protest, because I was an activist since I was little. I was a human rights lawyer, and I worked a lot with non-profit organization in human rights, sexual assault, and domestic violence, especially in war. So I had to leave the country and come in the America, which is a dream of everyone living in Africa, especially in those countries in war right now. So I got a chance, I got a visa to America, and when I arrived in America, I thought that I'm gonna get some rest now. I have been protesting all my life. I was marching, I was doing all the stuff, activists. So this is because, you know, the dream is to be in America. You have everything, human rights are respected, you have whatever you need, you have opportunities, you have everything. So I said, okay, I have my visa, I need to take a rest. And when I came here, because I was used to work in groups of women supporting each other, so I had to find a group where I can involve and just feel comfortable myself and get integrated. So I met really nice people in Portland. I got good friends, and I started being integrated. So about the march, when I started before the election in campaign, and I was following all the information about what was going on, and after the election, you know, I couldn't understand if really this could happen in the US, you know, because it's where I could expect the less find something like that. But I was in campaign, I was really hopeful because I know this is campaign, maybe people are saying, are having a language that they're not going to have whenever they will start running the country. But we know what was going on, and we have seen all that. It was a kind of fear that we had, especially like immigrants, black, all the stuff in this country. So I have been, I learned about the march from one of my friends that I met the first time I arrived here, Kara. She told me about the march in Washington. I couldn't go in Washington because I had 2 little boys I had to take care of. So I was wishing that something like a sister march can be organized here, and my wish was done. So we organized the march here. And as an activist, you know, yes, I thought I'm going to have some rest, but I was no rest for me. I'm going to keep going. So I decided that I would go to the march, and a couple of weeks before, a friend that I met in Empower Immigrant Women emailed me and asked me to say something to the march on the behalf of immigrant women. And I was kind of, oh my goodness, with my accent, all the stuff, am I going to make myself understood or what? But I remember that the first lady had an accent. It was far from mine, so I had to try to say something, you know. So, okay, I said, okay, I'm going to say something. I really didn't know what to say, but I knew I'm going to find something to say because this was really a very bad experience that I have seen and I wasn't expected for in the USA, my dream country. So then I decided to go and march and speak. In fact, as people who lived in an African country all the time in war, we have been through a lot worse than this. So it's not that bad compared to what we expecting to see that much people. And I've never seen that before. I've been in a couple rallies in Portland, but I've never seen that much people. And when I went to the stage and started talking, you know, so something just came up. I didn't prepare, and it was like a force that I felt inside of me, and I really get at that moment aware of the situation, how it is serious, and how people must keep fighting to make this country, this America, stay America as we dream America. So that's why I went there, and that's why I got involved, and that's why I'm here tonight. I'm happy, and I really like this event because it says we want to go back, and I agree, we want to go back.
Our next storyteller is Susan Feiner, who is also on the faculty at the University of Southern Maine. She's also the president of the USM Faculty Union.
Woo! Why I march. I was sexually assaulted in about 5th grade, and there were no words then. I didn't know how to tell anyone what had happened to me, and we will not go back. Woo! Why I march. I graduated from high school in 1972. Before Title IX, we had to beg the women high school gym teachers to coach our teams. We had to buy our own uniforms. We had to plead with our mothers to take us to our games. And we played not on fields, we played on the playgrounds of the elementary schools because they would not give us fields. We will not go back. Roe v. Wade, 1973. I was in college. How many women do I know who are infertile because of the abortions they suffered in dirty back alleys? And I am one of the 1 in 3 American women who will have an abortion in her lifetime, and mine was safe. We will not go back.
No,
In my first job as a university professor, I had the audacity to teach feminist economics. I got my ass fired. Not going back. When I was in 6th grade, the American Legion was having a contest in Rockland County, New York. And one kid from each 6th grade class in every elementary school in Rockland County, New York, got picked by, I guess, the teacher, to write an essay on why we love America. Well, I was the one who was picked in my 6th grade class, and it was the weekend of the very first anti-war demonstration in Rockland County, New York. And we went to that demonstration, me, my mother, my father, my 2 sisters. This was not our first demonstration. This is what my family did. We demonstrated. And we go, and we demonstrated. We had our signs, we had our chants, we demonstrated. and the American Legion marched against us. And I wrote an essay, Why Do I Love America? And I said I love America because I could demonstrate, and they couldn't shut me up. And I hand in my essay, and the teacher reads it, goes flying out of the room like a bat out of hell, and the next thing I know, the principal is at the door of my 6th grade classroom and says, Miss Feiner, will you come with me? Sure. So I get reamed out by the principal, how dare I, blah, 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 and my punishment was to put 1 foot in a white square and 1 foot in a black square, because we all went to the same elementary school, right? They had white squares and black squares. And to face the Bill of Rights of the U.S. Constitution for the 2 hours remaining in school that day. And I thought, my God, is this principal that stupid? That I wrote an essay, I love America because I can protest, and he puts me in front of a First Amendment? That's why I march. Because we do have the right to march, and we do have the right to speak, and we do have the right to protest, and damn you if you don't use it! That's why I march.
On my list, the next storyteller is Hamdia Ahmed. Is Hamdi here? Okay, maybe she'll come in. So, our next speaker will be Jennifer Jones, who is a clinical social worker and with the group March Forth.
I haven't worn this since Washington. I'm new to Portland. I've been here 3 years, but we live in Falmouth, and I have 3 children with autism. They're adopted. They all have the same parents, and I've kind of been in a vacuum for the last 16 years raising them. Having 1 child with autism is hard, having 2 is hard, having 3, even just typical neurotypical kids is challenging. So we usually went to about 2 play dates, and then we had to find someone else to do a play date with. We would have family gatherings and then not get invited back to birthday parties. So I've been kind of on my own with my kids in a big farmhouse up near Waterville, and doing a clinical practice and working in a school. And the way I was trained, I went to Smith College for a clinical social worker, to be a social worker, and it's very much like psychoanalytic training. You are taught not to wear wedding rings. You are taught to be very neutral so that people of whatever persuasion aren't offended or don't think that you get them. And I'm a unique person like we all are, and I really had to kind of lose myself in my profession. I really wasn't a person who would go out and march or speak. I would hide my toilet paper in my grocery cart when I was walking around because my clients would come and look at my cart and I didn't want them to see my toilet paper. And so my children are now in high school in Falmouth, and we moved here so that they could be safe. They were severely abused, not just emotionally, but sexually, in public school. And I worked in a school and I was helping other children while other people weren't keeping my kids safe. So I quit my job and I closed my practice and we moved down here. And so for the last 5 years I've been helping my kids get, hopefully, to be independent adults. I have a master's degree, my husband has an MBA, and we are not doing a great job because it's just really hard for people with special needs and disabilities in this society. Autism is one of those great things and terrible things that people don't really see it sometimes. and then there's no reason to understand why the person has such unexpected behaviors. So my daughter, I have one daughter, and she didn't want to go to the march. And when this all happened, I thought when we had Barack Obama that we were really on our way to amazing things in our country and that we had maybe gotten over the hump. And obviously we all know we're here, we have not gotten over the hump. And all the racism and bigotry and hatred and xenophobia was just below the surface, as so many people of color have told me that they experience day in and day out, and you really don't know until you see it. And now we're seeing it again. We're seeing it on social media. I didn't have a social media account. I didn't have Facebook. I didn't have Twitter until about 6 months ago. And now I've been called a nigger because I don't have a profile. And I guess the way I talk, people assume that I must be not a white person. And I don't think even a year ago I would have been called that. And I find it appalling, and I find it offensive, and I find it a product of what's happening in our government, from Paul LePage telling the NAACP to kiss his butt because they were a special interest, like his third week on the job, 7 years ago. So I am marching, and did march in Washington. We hadn't taken a vacation in 5 years because we spent it on private school. And I put myself on a credit card, and my daughter and I went to Washington. She's 16, she hates pink. I made her wear one of these. She made a sign, she carried it. People with autism, they don't like crowds. They don't like noise. It's very challenging for them. And so we did a lot of prep. We had 55 other people on our bus who were amazing. I made new friends, like Naomi. And I made a reacquaintance with a friend from about 15 years ago, Jill Shaw. And so one of the things that this march did was open, I feel like a debutante. Come out! You know? Like, I can be myself, I don't have a private practice, I don't have to pretend that I'm neutral. I can now speak about what I care about, which is people who are vulnerable, people who have disabilities, who are in the minority, who need us to stand up for them. We WASPy people need to stand up for everybody else. Some of us are very privileged. I consider myself privileged just because I'm able to blend in if I want to. Many people can't do that. So I'm dedicated. So I took my daughter, we went down. It was a grueling trip, it was exhausting, it cost a lot of money. She had to wear a pink hat, and she ended up half the day trying to find trees to climb in all through Washington because that would be safer for her. She was very overwhelmed. It was profoundly amazing, and it's something that I think anybody that went there will never forget. It was beautiful, there were amazing people, and it was inspiring. And I know that day that we committed, many of us together, made new friendships and connections, and we decided we are not going to stop. They're saying on the right that we're done. We are not done. We are just beginning, right? People from Congo come here and have to stand up for themselves. We are going to stand with them, beside them, and scream at the top of our lungs, not in our country anymore. The march ended. We had a great day. We were exhausted, but euphoric. A lot of social media is happening, folks. It is a way, someone just said, what's it for? Are we going to make a difference? You bet your butts. You know why? Because you're all going to start, if you aren't, and you probably are, calling your reps, calling your congresspeople, knocking on their doors, making appointments, and bugging the hell out of them so that they are sick of you. That's how change happens. And if we all do that, it will make a difference, and it is making a difference. It's making a difference. And I know I have to go. So, the last thing I'm going to say is, the end of the story is this autistic kid that didn't want to go to Washington, that didn't want to wear a pink hat, that didn't want to carry a sign, that didn't like crowds. The next week was the Jetport anti-Muslim ban, which was so horrific to have that happen that night. It was devastating, I'm sure, to so many people. That Sunday morning, I said to my husband, we're taking the kids. And my son went, oh, I don't want to go. They're teenagers, I don't want to go. My daughter said, Yes, should I wear my pink hat?
Next is Phil Mantis, who is the legal director of the Immigrant Legal Advocacy Project.
How's everyone? Okay, can you hear me? Yeah. I'm terrible with next one. I'm also a bit nervous too. I'm a lawyer and talk to people all the time. Poor at public speaking. Anyway, I don't have a story to tell personally. In fact, I'm terrible at talking about myself. My job is largely devoted to telling other people's stories. So I'm not used to telling my own story. However, I do work for immigrant legal advocacy projects. We'll talk a little bit about them. It's a wonderful little organization. We serve thousands of Maine residents every year. We assist low-income Maine residents with immigration matters. I started off as the asylum attorney at ILAP and now the legal director. We have a staff of 12. When I started there, we had a staff of 9. We also have a volunteer list of volunteer attorneys of about 140 who in last year, well, 2015, they donated almost $1 million worth of billable hours, same with last year. Pretty amazing. I'm always astounded by the work that our staff does. We have Sean Douglas in the back, who's one of our credit representatives and paralegals. He does a great job as well. I grew up in Maine, and I left Maine in 1998 when I graduated high school. Back in the late 90s, Maine was a little dingier. There were nice restaurants. It was very homogenous. And I wanted to leave. I wanted to learn more, see more, and I never thought I'd come back. And then in 2014, I saw that ILAP was hiring. I wanted to get into legal services. I'd been working at a firm for quite a while, and I wanted to have a direct impact in a community, and not just my client base. All my clients are great. And I saw that ILAP was hiring, but I didn't know that Maine had experienced the first major wave of immigration in about 100 years. So I thought I was going back to another kind of very cold, homogeneous climate. I was very much surprised to see that I'd come back to a city that was becoming more diverse. And not only that, incredibly welcoming. And also a population that reacts to hate so quickly and so strongly. Something that I've never experienced or didn't experience as much in Boston, where I was. And also, part of my task when I joined ILAP was I had to recruit attorneys to donate hours to represent poor Mainers in immigration matters. Immigration law is very obtuse. It's strange. Not a lot of practitioners who don't practice immigration law will, volunteer to delve into it. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to get a bunch of attorneys to donate time. Much to my chagrin, it was my pleasure. They had already had a robust pro bono panel of well over 100 attorneys who were willing, calling us to take on new cases. It's very surprising to me. So I realized that what I thought would be the toughest part of my job was recruiting attorneys to do pro bono work became the easiest part of my job. I barely had to do any PR work. People just wanted to do this work. And it's refreshing. Now, again, most of my life, my day-to-day life, I just spent representing my own clients and telling their stories. And my clients' interests go ahead of mine. So the favorite parts of my profession is that I can put my clients' interests ahead of my own interests, and it's something to fight and strive for on a day-to-day basis. Working with a low-income client base, I also want to make sure that my clients are healthy and happy, and I can live in a community that's welcoming. And I thank you all for being, for helping to make such a wonderful community for my clients and everyone who wants to come to Maine. And having events like this and being supportive of organizations like ILAP, I just am asked to work and be a lawyer in a better place. Thank you so much.
Our next storyteller is Ina Demerick, who works at the Portland Public Schools and participated in the Portland March.
My name is Ina Demers, and actually that's not my first name. I was born as a Chinese in Indonesia, with no voice at all. And my mother always told me, keep your mouth shut, because I think advocacy was in my blood. I was born with it, but I wasn't allowed to let it grow, so I was silenced. And my mother told me, when you graduate from your college, then you're going to go to America because that's where you can be free. And this is the sign that really impressed me, because it says, give me you're tired, you're poor, you're huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. The word free means a lot to me, because that's what I came here for. It's really difficult to live in a place where I'm not allowed to say anything, especially as a female. The boys can do anything. But my mother is militant, I guess. She always told us, okay, I have two sisters, I'm the oldest. So I live in a world of females with my mother, so that's 4 against 1. My poor father. My mother always told us, when we say, oh no, we can't do that, that's for boys. And my mother always says, girls can do what boys can do, and sometimes even better. But I cannot be such a strong person outside the house. So in the house I can be saying things, but outside the house I have to watch what I say, because it's not safe for me to say anything that would criticize the government. And that's very different from here, because now I can say Trump is an idiot. I can thank the Maine Education Association for training me to become an advocate and a strong person with a voice. Even if I'm Chinese, I'm old, and I'm an immigrant here. I'm not white. And it struck me very strongly when, okay, I need to go back. I'm an educator in Portland. I was teaching ESL, and now I'm working as an educational technician in a special education classroom. And when you were telling us that story, I said to myself, I know that's happening. But I'm glad you brought them to Portland.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult because, especially with Betsy DeVos now being the Secretary of Education, right? And I can't believe that Susan Collins did this to us in a different way. She's not coming out for her, but she's coming out as if, well, you know, what am I going to do now? I mean, she's... Okay, I won't do it. And, well, before I forget, I need to tell you that February 18th, which is next Saturday, there is going to be a march at Monument Square for the Affordable Care Act. Does anybody know what time? Okay, but we're going to start there at Monument Square, and we're going to march to Susan Collins' office. I think it's on 1 Center Street, but you don't have to know it. We're going to march there. And that's for the Affordable Care Act. There will be millions of people who will not have their health care if that goes through. especially for those with pre-existing conditions. Right. I hope it won't affect me as long as I'm still working as an educator, but it's really not okay. And that's why I saw that sign, something about the NEA up here.
Save the NEA.
Save the NEA. And that needs to be done because as a union, we stay strong. If we decided we're not going to anyway, Trump banned 7 countries, Muslim countries, to come in here, right? He is an idiot because he doesn't know that Indonesia is the largest Muslim country. And I think there is a fear. Majority people would fear that history will repeat itself again. When the Native Americans were here first and the immigrants from the European countries came here, it wasn't okay, right, for them, for the Native Americans. Look where they are now. So there is probably, this is my own assumption, that there is a fear that the brown, the black, the yellow will take over. I'm not sure, but it won't be during my lifetime. So, thank you very much for listening.
Next is Al-Sakini, who is an Arabic interpreter for Gateway Community Services.
Hi everybody, and thank you for inviting me to this event today. So, my work as an Arabic interpreter, I see a lot of refugees people every single day. I meet them, I hear their stories, like what they say, what they were about. And they told me we are really worried about what's happening in this world right now. Why Trump say that? Why he don't like Muslim people? Why he don't like black people? Why he told all this not good things about us? We not doing anything wrong. We are really good person in this community. I'm a Muslim people. I came here before 2.5 years. I lived in Syria 5 years. I left my country because of the war, 2007, to be in a safe country. So I chose Syria. I lived there 5 years. And then after 5 years, there is a war in Syria. So I decided to leave another country, Syria, to Turkey, just to be in another place that's safe for me, for my daughter, for my mom. And I just lived 2.5 years in Turkey also. So this is 7.5 years, waiting my dream to be in United States. And finally, after 7.5 years, I came here as a refugee for almost 3 years ago, and I started to learn the English, learn the language. I don't know the language at that time, so I'm sorry if I'm doing any mistakes today. I think Donald Trump, he destroyed my dream because my father, he's still in Iraq, and I need him to be with me, with my daughter, my brother here, his kids here, my daughter here. So I like him to see them growing up, graduated, and like maybe they finish the university also. Who knows? And I feel this decision, it's destroyed all my dreams. It's really hard for me. It's hard to protect to us as a refugees people. So every day when I meet my clients, I see like around 100 question marks on their face. What's going on? we have dark future right now. I told them, no, just wait. We should be patient, and this country is safe, and it's accepting all refugee people. There's like all religion, all color here. So, and when I see there's million people support us, I feel really good. And I feel happy. I feel safe. So thank you all about everything you're doing to us. And thank you, Wendy, to invite me today to speak with you guys. Thank you so much.
Next is a member of our city council in Portland, Tyus Oates.
Since I'm the last person, can I take this off?
You can. Unless Hamdi arrived or Decca.
Is Hamdi here?
Then you are the
Yeah.
last, and Decca Dalek is not here either.
Oh, Decca, you killed my, I get a little bit anxious when I stand in front of people, so I was hoping that I would hold this mic so that I don't get nervous. January 21st March. For me, the march didn't start on January 21st. It started way back. I am from Ghana in West Africa. I came to the US in 2000. In 2000, one of my friends who live here in Portland came to New York where I live. I live in the Bronx with a couple of friends. And when we were back home in Ghana, he left for a school in Italy. So I saw him sitting down in the living room with one of my friends. And I said, how come you didn't tell me my friend is visiting? And then he responded and said, I come here every other weekend. And I said, do you get paid to come and visit him from Italy? He said, no, I come from Maine. And I said, where is Maine? Eventually, I ended up in Maine for a visit, and I love Portland. I came back again and again, and I came back one time and I said, I was moving to Albany, but let me go to Portland and visit my friend. And then, because I'm not going to be coming all the way from Albany to Portland, it's a little bit far. I came to Portland, and I never left. And I've done a lot of work with young people in the community. I work with kids who are homeless. I work with kids who are incarcerated. Like many immigrants, I came to this country for something different, for something better. But when I moved to Portland, I started doing that work. It showed me a different part of the U.S. that I never thought existed. That I never thought that somebody in this country would go to bed without eating food. I never thought that young people will have no food and will have no means of getting their need as young people met. I never seen anywhere in the world where kids who are 12, 13, 14, 15 years sent to jail because they did what young people do. All those things kind of like prepared me for fighting for what I believe is a just world. I learned so much from the young people, whether they are homeless or they are immigrants or they are coming from economically disadvantaged background that I did work with here in Portland. In 2013, I had an opportunity to run for school board, and I did. My campaign was full, if that is the right word to use, by high school students from Portland and from neighboring towns. I have high school students sending me email and say that, oh my goodness, your campaign is so cool, can we be part of it? And also we believe on what you're doing. So young people campaign for me. Those of you who live in Portland and saw me in your neighborhoods in 2013, I lose control of my volunteers because they're running all over the place. They were doing what young people their age do. Even though they were knocking on doors, they were also being playful. 2016, which was last year, I had an opportunity to run for city council, and I did. My campaign was interesting launch, even though I launched it online and say, hey, I'm running for city council this year. It was launched when Trump visited Portland. on March 2nd or so, I organized a protest against him when he came to Island Hotel. And 500 people or so came out and stood next to me in a very chilly, cold day. Hope nobody was with me here. I work here, I sneak out onto the protest and then come back. That's how I was. So, that day I saw how much support was out there. I got elected on November 13. I have a 12-year-old. I have a 12-year-old daughter. A week before the election, during the campaign, we don't live together, she lives with her mom. During the campaign, I didn't get to see her like I usually see her on weekends. So the week before the election, I took her out to dinner on Thursday. The Thursday before the election, she was worried. This is a child who don't like me to listen to talk radio. When she's sitting in my car, she would say, "Daddy, can you change that?" And I call her the boss. So when she said, "Can you change that?" I always change it to play music. But a week before the election, she was so worried. We went out to eat. She kept asking me, "Is he going to win?" And she kept asking without mentioning Trump's name. And I said, "Who?" And she said, "Trump." And I said, "No way, he's not going to win." Was I truthful to her? Absolutely no. Because I did, and I still do believe that election have nothing to do with the person who is standing there. It's about emotions. And I've seen him touch people's emotions because I've seen how people talk to me the day that I organized that protest. They were angry, they believed in everything that he said. And when he came here in August, a few months before the election, when he came to Mary Auditorium, I saw how his supporters behaved. For the first time in my life, I was afraid. But I was being protective of my daughter. I didn't want her to be afraid. So I said to her, "Oh no, he's not going to win." I said, "Who's going to win?" I said that with one side of my mouth, and the other side of my mind, I was like, I hope that is what is going to happen. On election night, she kept texting me and saying that, "Daddy, I'm not seeing your result on TV. All I'm seeing is Trump winning." And at that point, I have some people who were volunteering for me texted some of my results. I sent her a screenshot of that, and I said, "Listen, it seems like I'm going to win. Can you go to bed? I'm sure by the time you wake up in the morning, there's going to be a president, and it's not going to be Trump." And she went to bed. Unfortunately, in the morning, what I told her, she's my biggest fan. She believed in whatever I told her. What I told her was not what happened. And we had a conversation, and I explained it to her. Move forward to the march. On the day on January 21st, right? A week before then, I asked them, "Do you want to go to Augusta with me?" She said, "No, Daddy, I don't want to go to Augusta." I said, "Okay, I have plans to go with other people." I think on Thursday night, she called me and said that, "I want to go to Augusta with you." And in looking at the number of people that were going to Augusta, I thought, "Oh, Portland is safe." So I said to her that maybe we should do Portland so that if you get tired, we can always sneak out and walk home. And so we agreed to do Portland. I picked her up and parked my car. I live right across from Whole Food on Pearl Street. I parked my car and we walked up. As we were walking, I was seeing people walking up with us. By the time I got to up down in front of on Mantua Hill, there was so many people. And we started marching down. I saw my daughter chanting. This is somebody who didn't want to go to, who didn't want to do anything politically. We marched. Today, before I go here, I received a text message from her. I didn't know that there's a rally tomorrow. She asked me, "Daddy, are you going to the rally?" And I said, "Which rally?" She said, "There's a rally for women. If you want to go, I want to go. We'll go get it." I told her, "No, we go to the march." And I said, "Yes," even though I don't know what rally it is. I'm yet to find out. We've marched, we've done rallies, we will continue to do that. It's a marathon. I think this administration is less than a month. and there's so much rallies, so much protest. I'm going to make an ask of all of you. I think as much as we rally, as much as we call our elected representatives, we should also campaign for people who hold the same values as we do.
Yeah.
And I can attest to that. When people go out and knock on doors, whether it is raining, snowing, because that happened when I was running for city council. I have volunteers who were dedicated to what I believe in, and they believe that they share my values, and they went out with me through rain, snow, and we knocked on doors. And I got elected. So let's do that. Between the January 21st and today, I've had coffee with about 8 people. Out of those 8 people, 5 of them, and 3 of them are all women, have told me, what do we have to do to run for public office? So I'm going to ask all of you, I understand, I know that not all of us want to run for public office, because it's a lot of work, or not all of us want to be in front of people, but there's something we can do, which is what I said earlier. Please, 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 go out there, knock on doors. I don't know how many of us are here. If there's one candidate that we all agree and believe and know that we have the same, we share the same value, and we go out, all of us here, and knock on a door or each door's in Portland or wherever we live for 3 days. That means we will have a lot of people listening and hearing people who support that particular candidate. So let's look out for candidates and support them. And I have a video here that I'm going to play. The person whose video it was one of the speakers at the Portland rally. She's one of the young people that I work with. She's not here today. I am reiterating what she said on that day about what we need to do. Let's hope I get it right. And then, come on. Wow. What she says is that it's not working. What she said is, if you want to make a change, be a teacher. If you disagree with the policies that is being made by your elected officials, be a policy maker. And if you don't agree with the President of the United States, run for the U.S. President. Run for the President of the United States.
That's the end of our storytelling evening. A couple of announcements. We found out that the Affordable Care Act rally is at noon on Saturday, a week from Saturday, the 18th. And also next Thursday, here on the USM Portland campus, there will be a protest against a talk that is going to be given by Representative Larry Lockman from the Maine State Legislature. It has a long history of racist, sexist, Islamophobic, and homophobic comments. And he's going to be speaking on campus that evening, and there's a protest scheduled for 6 p.m. here on the Portland campus. So please don't rush. Oh, you are here. Please, come on. Thank you. Come deep, come deep.
Get away with having to she's like 20 years old. I apologize. I'm recovering from bad cold, so if my voice is bad, so I apologize. Can you all hear me fine?
No.
Oh.
All right. You have to just lead right into it.
So my name is Deka Dalag. I am originally from Somalia, East Africa. I came to the United States about 25 years ago. And lived in Maine for 10 years. Let me just go back to Somalia. I grew up in a household that was very supportive of girls. My father was a very well-educated man. He spoke 4 different languages, so he was always protective of all girls because some of our countrymen was really oppressing girls and women. My father was very active person in politics. He did a coup in 1960 in Somalia, so he was always in the eyes of the government, in the Siad Barre regime, those of you who know Somali history. He was always putting a big scold, and I remember him getting the government taking him out of the house. He'd be out for almost like 2 months, sometimes 3 months, sometimes longer than that. So it became really normal for us, for him to be taken all the time. As he grew older and his health deteriorated, he realized that for me being the only girl in the house, he asked my uncles and my cousins to make sure that I don't experience any hardship when the government really goes down. So, but the government started, breaking down in 1988. So 1990 was when the big boom happened. So my father passed away in 1989, and a lot of my family members start to try to get me out of the country. So I remember my uncles taking me to different consulates to get visas for me. The British consulate, I remember, the American consulate, and many other places. Also, at that, my uncle was trying to do all of those things. There were other men who were powerful men in my country who was also trying to marry me so that they were telling my uncles and aunties that they are so powerful, they can protect me. But my father never told them to do that. So finally, one of my uncles secured an Italian visa for me, and that was not my initial wanted country to go to. But I settled with it, and I went to Italy, and after that, I traveled to Canada, and then met my husband in Canada and married him, who is also a U.S. citizen. So I came to Maine, to make a long story short, I found my dream country. The safety, the rights, all those good things. I never, used the rights as you can say. I did do vote though, locally and nationally, which was really a good, right that I used. But never kind of abused some of the rights that people have. You will see a lot of immigrant and refugee communities in here who will say, oh, you cannot talk to me and do this because I have this right and that right. Anyhow, so I'm going to try to make a correlation for what's happening in this country and what happened in my country for the operation and the governments that really oppress people. So when Trump ran, like everybody else here talked about, I didn't believe it. I was like, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to do anything. But reality struck, and he became the United States president. So that Wednesday, I'm also a graduate student at UNE. I'm doing my master's in social work. So my internships at Lyman Middle School. So when I went to my internship at Lyman Middle School on Wednesday, I have all kind of kids coming to me and saying, is he going to take our parents back to their countries? What's going to happen to my parents? And I could have talked to those kids and explained to them, no, he cannot do that. He's just, there's laws in this country that he cannot, break or anything like that. But what really touched my heart was when a little white girl came to me in 6th grade and said, crying, that her mother is a racist. And I said, honey, why would you say that? And she said, she voted for Trump. I mean, what can you say to that little child? So I just let her sit down and I say, listen, honey, your mother is not a racist. Your mother must have heard him saying that he's going to make, jobs came back to this country and, doing all kind of economy, making strong the economy and all those things. Maybe she heard those things and she thought, well, I don't have a job, so this guy will give me a job. And she said, I never thought of that. I didn't think of that, right?
But while also on that Friday, which was the November 11, right? November 11 was my birthday, so we had a traditional thing to go to IHOP on that morning for my whole family. And I chose not to sit at IHOP because I was very, very afraid. Because most of the people who will celebrate that day is also the veterans, which I don't have anything against, but sometimes they scare me because they have guns and all that. And we chose to take the food to go. So as I parked my car, my 16-year-old daughter, I asked her to go out and get the food for us. And this guy parked next to my car with a big truck, hit my car when he was getting out of his car, and looked at me like, in a face that said, "What can you do about it?" I mean, literally. And my daughter heard the bang in the car, and it stopped. And I just waved to her and do this. It's okay, just keep going. Because I didn't want her to hear or whatever. I did not even want to confront him. I didn't want to say anything. And that fear is really growing within me every single day, ever since the election day. And I'm not even lying. I'm learning the social work. And when I see Trump, I have anxiety. Really bad anxiety. And somebody said that they love to watch news. I do too. But ever since, I cannot even look at it. Because there are so many ethics that this administration is breaking, and we're just allowing it to go on. So a couple of things. I think Bias also said that. Each and every one of you, those of you who are young, I want you to register yourselves to run. I want you to write policies that change how we live in this country. The power is in you. You saw all the marks. I mean, it's good and everything, but what is behind it? What are you going to do after that? You know, we can go to marks and put big signs and just walk around and all that. But what are we going to do about it? Are we going to write some policies? Are we going to write bills and legislate and talk to our people? Right? We need to take those seats, especially Susan Collins. Yeah. As you can see, I'm a woman. I'm black. I'm from one of those countries that was banned, Somalia, and I'm Muslim. And guess what? I'm not backing down.
Well, I'm so glad you made it. All of you, I'm so glad you made it. There is literature on the tables, there's food and coffee, and please stay and talk to each other. We have room for another 15 minutes or so. Thank you all so much for coming.
There was just, I told area window. And 5 minutes late, and I told them, you have an hour. Oh my gosh. So we're done, yeah. Yeah. Don't wait. No. Shorter. Which was okay. Oh yeah, she was fine with it. There's so much information I wish we could have put out, like you go online and look up March 4th. I mean, some people, I said to